final word.
I got it now. I'm gonna put it in my bag, Law.
Yeah, the first team to score 35 points to lose.
Lose. We like hearing that.
Yes,
It's a record.
very,
The
very,
final
very,
word.
very, very good day today. We have a very, very special guest.
Special.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
You know, because sometimes, y'all know, because you know how it is if you was raised by your mother and father. It's hard to say who your favorite, right? But I can say, and everybody should say on the final word, and I know we all agree with this, that I think Michael Gehlken is the tea leaf king. Like the tea leaf king.
So, we bringing that knowledge.
Oh,
we bringing
man.
them fire stuff.
Oh, man. Like, literally the best questions, period.
Yeah.
So I got a highlight today of just the questions that he put out there, just displaying the football knowledge and just finger on the trigger, you know. So I'm excited. He's in the building.
He gets shared all the time on all my pages because I know when he's at camp, we're going to get the thorough.
Yes.
Yeah, the real.
Yes.
He's the sniper.
Yes, we're getting the real.
Now, everybody, I'm going to tell y'all have to show Mr. Gelkin some love for a couple of reasons. He has a newborn.
Yes.
Okay.
And he's still spending time today to talk about football. Come on now. Y'all got to clap it up for
final
Mr.
word.
Come on now.
Put your hands together, man.
Clap it up for Mr. Gelkin.
Give some hand claps.
Yes, sir. Salute.
That boy's good.
Dedication.
That boy good.
Dedication.
I thought you were gonna say, man, he's beard gang. You know.
Yeah, because he was pretty good last time.
Yeah.
Beard gang. That's what happens when you get
Beard
babies,
gang.
though.
Yeah,
you
That's
get
what happens when you get babies. The beard come out because you like, man, I ain't shaving.
he looked a little tired too. He looked like
It's a stress.
He looked like he been. You know how you don't get no
Stress.
sleep with them newborns?
Yes.
Daddy.
The beard.
Oh man, I'm excited, man. So Michael, we got a lot for you. Go ahead. I can tell you got something on your mind. What you got, Michael?
I'm doing the night shift at the house, so there is a lack of sleep. That is real.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to put some cereal in that bottle.
Oh man.
You got to make that baby go to sleep.
Yeah.
Right.
And see, let me tell you another reason we got to clap it up for Mr. Gill.
Final word.
Because you know we was thinking we might do this during the game, and he still was gonna come out and give us some content about the Cowboys. Just wow. So clap it up. One more time.
Final word.
All right, here we go, man. We got the countdown coming. I'm very excited for this one because, you know, we have some very good questions. And Mr. Gelkin, you done let out a lot, so we got to talk about a lot. You talked about Zeke. You talked about Steele. You talked about Cook versus Zeke. You talking about best five. It's so much we got to talk about. So we going to try to be quick, get it all in, and get it all out. All right, so we
know about Zeke and you and Zeke.
Oh,
Zeke.
I thought Zeke was in your warehouse. He not?
No.
He's not.
Remember I told you progress stopper.
Oh no.
Wow.
Oh no.
Shame, man.
You believe that?
No, I'm just
Shame.
saying. Yeah.
Shame.
So okay. So I guess we just not gonna mess with Malik Davis then, huh?
Shame.
No. No.
Nobody's picking up Zeke. Nobody.
Wow. Man, you've been throwing a lot of curveballs. You have to stop the curveballs.
I ain't trying to. I'm just telling my feelings.
But you've been throwing a lot of them.
I ain't trying to. I can't help my feelings.
No,
I just wanna run it up.
Shame,
Can we
man.
check or something? I've been really in the field, let up.
Boss said shame.
First they love you, then they hate you, then they love you again.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't you do that.
We're putting that pressure on you today,
Don't
B.
need no deals, I make a deal. Have to take it to a meal. Lately, I just wanna run it up. Yeah. Kinda check the song. Lately, I just wanna run it up. Count that too, count it up, count it up. Lately, I just wanna run it
Sharing
up.
is caring.
Need them ones, I need them fives. Need
Y'all
them
make sure
tens,
y'all
I
hit
need
that
that
share
change.
button.
To the safe, got blues
Hit that
inside.
like button, too.
Greens and pinks, it's all the same. I still saving, roll my change. Take some losses when I play. Charge it to
Notification
the
bell.
game. I'm with L, yeah, I'm with T Black, I'm with Rabbit now. I'm with Bay, yeah, I'm with J, yeah, I'm with Chuck and now. Still the same, not switching sides, now it's about loyalty. You switch sides off for the bag, and that's worth more to me. I mix Nike with designer, I experiment. You just rock what's on the shelf, and I'm not feeling it. Search for the one, but baby girl, it's nothing real as this. Can't trust a soul, I keep a hammer, call it too legit. I've been really in the field, love the rush, I love the feel. Lately, I just wanna run it up.
All right, so we got Mr. Gelkin in the building. And we gonna get straight into it because, you know, we got a lot to talk about. So first, we gonna kind of talk about a lot of stuff that's already on your Twitter. Okay, so we gonna kick it right off. First, Michael Gehlken, you talked about on your Twitter that Jalen Tolbert caught 2 passes as a rookie 3rd round pick today. Today, the Cowboys consider him their most improved wide receiver. Why the early struggles and how Tolbert got back on track, including advice from Brandon Cooks and gift from Dak Prescott. So obviously Tolbert is somebody that, you know, a lot of the fans are looking to take that jump. So obviously, you know, we have your article here with the Dallas Morning News where you laid out some good stuff, a lot of good stuff on this. So we go first kind of hear your voice on it, and then we'll highlight your article, some key parts of it, and go around a circle.
Sure. So there is legitimate excitement within the Cowboys organization about the strides Jalen Tolbert has taken. By the way, thanks again for having me. I always enjoy joining you guys. So whatever I can do to help advance the conversation as it relates to the Cowboys, I'm happy to meet up with you guys. But last year, he never got a real handle of what the Cowboys are asking from him at all the receivers that they had him play, because it wasn't like he was just, you know, an X receiver or a Y receiver or an F or a Y. He was all 4. And so there's a lot of fluency that is required if you don't know when a play's coming in the huddle, if you're going to be the X or the Z or the F or, you know, what have you going in. And then you get the call and you're maybe more confident at X than you are at Z, and it has you at Z, then you're like, oh, okay, what am I doing? What do I got here? And then maybe the motion, there's a pre-snap motion, and he was thinking too much to play fast. And now he's got it. He got away from the season and went back to Mobile, Alabama. He met up with Dak Prescott, did a lot of throwing, picked the ear of CeeDee Lamb, of Michael Gallup, both of whom told Tolbert that they struggled themselves as a rookie to kind of get acclimated to the playbook. And then there was also the big addition of Brandon Cooks. And Cooks has been terrific for that room. You can see not only why he's been so successful in this league, but why he's been so successful across multiple organizations, the way that he's kind of bounced around a bit. And the way that he's just acclimated so smoothly and been a mentor to Tolbert already, I think it speaks volumes to Brandon Cooks and how, just kind of what he's already meant to the Cowboys. So that's a big part for Jalen Tolbert, just feeling confident again, feeling like he can just go out and play, and some of those natural abilities that we saw at South Alabama, some of the, the physicality, the catch radius, in terms of high pointing the ball in the air. He can just kind of get back to being that guy. Now, I know that he only caught 2 passes last year. So even if he makes a jump, what does that jump to? But the Cowboys feel there's a lot of upside to it. and they think, we're going to be past the days of Jalen Tolbert being a healthy scratch. At least that's the goal that Tolbert has. Like, he wants to be legitimately part of this, keeping in mind that the Cowboys no longer have Noah Brown. And so we'll see how it all goes. Special teams, of course, is a part of the depth chart, what it looks like for a 48-man game day roster. But Cowboys are really pleased thus far with what Tolbert has shown.
Big.
All right. I hate to just pivot. I'm sorry. But I want to talk about Simi Fehoko. You mentioned Tolbert, and I actually wanted him in the draft. I had him in my mock draft, so I'm excited that he's doing this. But I want to ask about Simi Fehoko. I mean, a lot of people are talking him up again this year. They talked him up last year. Is there really anything going to come about this Simi Fehoko? Because in my opinion, just from me, I don't know if he's going to be anything more than a camp body when you look at the roster as a whole. Can you talk me off of that, or is this real improvement, or, kind of give me your thoughts and kind of the outlook on Simi Fehoko?
Yeah, I thought Simi was one of the more improved Cowboys in camp last year, where you looked at, as a rookie, he really, was not ready to contribute. And then you could just tell that, he could stretch the field, his size, he just had that big play component to him. And he injures his shoulder, and he's getting shot regularly into it. He and I talked about it last week. It just kind of derailed things for him, his range of motion and the sort. And Cowboys ultimately put him on IR. We really didn't see him. We didn't see him back after that. There was thought that maybe he could be back, in time for, a late playoff game, but that didn't materialize, obviously, with the San Francisco game result. I think I want to see more in training camp. I would probably want to see more to kind of figure out just where he is today relative to last year. With Tolbert, it's so clear the jump just because of the starting point. I think Fehoko kind of came a long way from year 1 to year 2. So, but he's clearly put the work in. He's got, just again, that vertical component to him. He's hungry. You can kind of just tell in his voice that he's ready to be a part of things after 2 years of really not having been so. But he's got something to prove, and not unlike Jalen Tolbert. I mean, I think you can kind of. I think it's a good pivot that you make, because they kind of fall in a similar category. There are two guys whose lockers are literally side by side each other, and they very much are shoulder to shoulder as it pertains to what 2023 means for their careers.
Gotcha.
That's a good observation there. Speaking of Simi, last year Mike McCarthy came out and said that he wanted him to be more of the hybrid guy, and that dissipated. We didn't get a chance to see that. From your view of Simi, do you see him more of a finesse wide receiver or a physical wide receiver, or will he be lined up more inside or outside?
I would think outside. I don't see him too much in the slot. It's really, this spring for the Cowboys was a bit irregular in that there wasn't really any 11-on-11 of consequence. DBs weren't contesting for the ball when it was in the air. Everything was designed to really not cross the line of the collective bargaining agreement and what it allows the Cowboys to do and not to do. And so Mike McCarthy won't have a fine for the third straight spring. That was by design. But I think, unfortunately, when it comes to a guy like Fehoko, I do think he's got a lot of physicality when the ball is in the air. I think he definitely has that element to him, but we weren't able to see that just because of the nature of the tempo and physicality of practice, the lack thereof. But I think that's the way I think of him, though. I think of him bodying up people and just, kind of being that, 5 in 4 or 5 in basketball, just jumping up, grabbing a rebound. Like when the ball's in the air, you kind of think that it's tilted toward his advantage. So we'll see if he can have another, second straight camp, if he can stay healthy. There's definitely, the Cowboys were not prepared for Michael Gallup to show so poorly coming off of the ACL. I think Fehoko, his development, his injury, Jalen Tolbert with his injury, they just weren't really loaded up enough. But you got to think with the development of some of these young wide receivers, with Brandon Cook's addition, with Gallup's return to health, return to confidence in that left knee, the Cowboys are better set up to have more help for Dak Prescott in that receiver corps, in conjunction with some of the scheme differences and increased understanding of the why to the play, because the details will be the difference in a passing game, and those often were waiting and leading to some of the interceptions that Prescott had.
No doubt.
Mike, a couple questions here for you. In your opinion, the struggles of Jalen Tolbert, was that typical rookie struggles based upon how the Cowboys see it? Or did that have anything to do with some of the complexities of the previous offensive coordinator and how he constructed the offense and the intermingling or the swapping out of roles for wide receivers? And then number two, how I see it is this, and let me know if this is correct or the Cowboys see it differently. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb is your number one. You brought in Cooks as your number two. You have Michael Gallup as your three. And then is Tolbert in the mix for the fourth receiver, or is it a competition between him and Simi? How do you see it, and what do you think?
Sure. I'll start with the second question. I think that they're going to open it up. You have those top three. That's really well defined, and then after that, you want to see who's emerging and who looks like he's truly ready to contribute. I would give Tolbert the edge, just based on what we saw in the spring. But I think it's only fair to anyone who's got that spot has got to earn it. And there's also a special teams component as well. And so how many wide receivers are going to keep up? Does Kevontae Turpin make this football team? If he does, that's another wide receiver. Can Turpin contribute at all on offense after he really didn't do much, somewhat pretty understandably so, considering he was a guy who joined the Cowboys in camp and ended up playing like 31, 32 games between the USFL and the NFL. And so there was a lot of physical and mental load on Turpin. So they didn't ask too much of him on offense, but if he's going to be active this year, it would help if he can contribute in that area. So I think it's pretty open going into Oxnard, and the Cowboys want to see again who really emerges and embraces his opportunity. The first question, Jalen Tolbert clearly got off on the wrong foot, and he kind of got off on the wrong hamstring because he had the hamstring issue in the spring, and so he missed his valuable developmental time. But Mike McCarthy himself publicly has acknowledged that there was a bit of a mistake the Cowboys made in terms of, on the road to his rookie season, where they didn't just ask him to focus on one of those wide receiver positions. They gave him like three to learn. And for a guy making the jump out of South Alabama, you really want him to just have his feet under him and to kind of steadily grow within the offense. And admittedly, they put too much on his plate too early. And that was part of the reason why he was, thinking too much and not playing fast. And you could just see it in Green Bay with the the offside penalty. But even then, he wasn't just comfortable out there, and he was trying to make the most
afraid, Michael. He looked afraid.
He looked spooky. He looked spooky out there. He looked spooky out there.
He just wasn't. He just wasn't his. He refers to himself in college as like the dude. It's just like Nick Lebowski. Like he's got like. He knows what he looks like when he's playing well. He's playing fast, and he's just natural. Like he can be the dude, and he was not that person last year, and he thinks he's getting back to being the dude this year. So that's kind of his mentality, and I think again part of it is all rooted back into just how much he was thinking last year.
Right.
So if you Dennis Houston, you kind of looking at it like my main objective is to do what I did last season, but even better. Because Dennis Houston, you got Brandon Smith, you got Kevontae Turpin, you got Dontario Drummond. Which one of these guys, even Tyron, what was his last name? Johnson, I believe, or Robinson. You got those guys that's on the back end of the wide receiver room. Do you think that the Cowboys going to roll with 6? Or if they roll with 5, there's going to be a real hefty cut of one of those guys that could make this team. So how many do you think that the Cowboys will go with, and who could be the long shot guy in making this team?
Well, I think the Cowboys tend to keep their draft picks. You look like the initial 53 has looked in recent years. And so I think Jalen Brooks being the 7th rounder, he would have an advantage over all the other undrafted rookies. Like David Durden is a guy I know the Cowboys are really excited to sign as a free agent, but he's right now learning the Z, and he needs to I might be writing an article on him soon, but he feels like he's got to come a little bit ways in terms of comfort level in the playbook. He's coming from making a huge leap. I believe Division II was the level at which he played last year. And so it just takes time for some of these guys. And so with Jalen Brooks making the transition out of South Carolina, him being a draft pick, I would lean that, if there's a name who isn't like super well known, in terms of pedigree, it would probably be him. But obviously, just the nature of a draft pick and the transition that he's making relative to some of the other young guys.
And Jalen Cropper as well, right? He's another guy that could turn heads if he can make it via the special teams or something.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you look for those guys to really show up. First, I guess in the classroom, it sounds cliche, but just do you know what you're doing? Like you know what we're asking of you, and then some of the route and nuances, like when you're working with the second team, when you're working with Cooper Rush, you're working with Will Greer, can they trust you to be where you are when you're supposed to be there? Because it's all about timing, the footwork in the pocket. It's all very in sync between what's going on behind center and what the routes and stems and all those sorts of particulars are supposed to be. So as a young receiver, are you reliable? Ultimately was what it comes down to. And so, can you do that? Can you show that in meetings? Can you show it in practice? And ultimately, can you show it in the preseason where you've done enough that the Cowboys don't feel comfortable exposing you to waivers in the 31 other NFL clubs because they don't want to lose you? So those are the opportunities that a young player has, and it starts off the field by just showing that they know what they're supposed to do. So do you know if it's X, if it's Z, if it's flanker, whatever it may be? Do you understand your job and your responsibilities?
I got something for you, Michael. All right, it's gonna get a little. It's gonna start a little bit of a war in here too. I'm just gonna let you know. So we gonna start with this one. All right, here we go. And also, this clip is courtesy of 105.3 The Fan. We follow the fair use principles. We put the full link in the description, so you make sure that you give that. And all of these articles that we're featuring are in the description. So just make sure y'all know that and give it a click where you can get a full read. But here we go.
We're talking with Michael Gehlken, covers the Cowboys for the Dallas Morning News. You can follow him on Twitter at Gelkin NFL. Michael, there's this chatter out there. We don't know how real some of it is. Some of it's been perpetuated by the owner and general manager. But this chatter that won't seem to die about a potential Ezekiel Elliott reunion. How real?
You heard that, Big? Okay.
Realistic do you think that is? And is it something where the more time that passes where he doesn't have a job, the more realistic it could become that he ends up back here?
Yeah, it's funny because I think there's a lot of different thoughts that are going through my mind as I try to answer that question.
Oh, wait. Doing too much.
See?
I think
it's listening. Yeah,
Jerry,
it's going to me.
Based on, the few years that I've been around him. But if you want to just look at the Odell Beckham Jr. situation, there's a bit of a tendency there to talk about something for, because it's interesting, because it's intriguing, because it's engaging with the public, certain scenarios of potential player acquisition, when there really isn't a realistic chance, or maybe the wins aren't exactly what are being portrayed, but you talk about it publicly as if it's more imminent than perhaps it is, or there's more interest than there is. And I think that's a bit of what happened with OBJ, where we talked a lot about that when privately the Cowboys weren't exactly where they seemed to intimate publicly that they were. But when it comes to Ezekiel Elliott, I think it's valid that we talk about him until he signs elsewhere.
Okay, did you hear that, Big? Okay. Wait.
I've been hearing it.
Okay, let's keep going.
As long as he's available, to me, based on what I've heard from back channels.
What? Okay, from back channels, and we have him here to talk about this, so we gonna talk about this. Here we go.
How the Cowboys have kind of made their interest known. What they've told different people around the league. It has, to me at least, seemed, and this was albeit before.
Wait, so okay, before we get going, I told you I gotta do this. I have to do this. So then you also had an article, where you highlighted that the Cowboys have gone younger and cheaper at running back. No part of that recent direction suggests that they'll be a serious suitor for Dalvin Cook. So if I heard you right, Mr. Gelkin, what I heard was through back channels that there could be a legitimate interest, and don't count it out until he signs with someone else. But with
Which he's not.
come on, Big. All right, but with Dalvin Cook, you kind of closing that door. Can you kind of bridge that? Because we've been having fights in the final word over Cook versus Zeke and all that kind of stuff. But I want you to kind of put it together for us.
I assume that Cook is more expensive than Zeke in the market today. I think we all share that assumption.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so you look at the Cowboys and what they are at present paying Tony Pollard, north of $10 million on the franchise tag if something doesn't get done there in the next month and change. There's that. Then there is the dead money that Zeke counts against the Cowboys salary cap, not only this year but next year. And there are, a few running backs in the room: Ronald Jones, Malik Davis, someone that I think maybe is being overlooked, and Rico Dowdle, that are also, there. I think that the Cowboys are about to throw money at the running back position again after all the money that they've already got tied up there, while your quarterback is making what he's making and owed a second contract or a third contract here coming up. And you're looking ahead and you're plotting out, CeeDee Lamb's extension. There's a possibility of a Trayvon Diggs deal. You definitely obviously have Micah Parsons in the horizon. Not this year. Too early. He's not eligible yet. But next year. All of that just says it's not exactly smart roster budgeting to throw such a huge percentage of your cap allocation toward the running back position.
Yeah.
So you do what other teams do, and you go young, you go cheap. You've already got the money tied up, but you just develop what you have, the guys in the room. And the Cowboys do think very highly of Zeke Elliott, and so I'll reiterate: as long as he's out there, I wouldn't say never. And the Cowboys' circumstances could change. Who they have in the room. Over the course of camp, you never know. Like there's some moving pieces to it. Maybe the Cowboys and Zeke they do want to get together, but Zeke sees no rush in joining the team in the spring, or maybe just whatever it may be. As long as they did sign his jersey number. Stephon Gilbert's 21, and so Zeke comes back, he's gonna have to tell Will Greer not to be number 15, and I don't know how they'd work that out. I'm not saying it's likely, but in terms of closing the door, I think it makes more sense to close the door on Cook, given the financial reality that the Cowboys have at present and as they look toward the future, than it does Zeke at a lesser deal. That to me is the difference.
Let me ask a quick question, Michael, because I struggle with this idea and concept about why the Cowboys did not draft a running back when it was a really deep class, and they could have went young and cheap and got a quality back in the later rounds. And so now we have Malik, which obviously the Cowboys like. Obviously, you have Tony Pollard. I think that's a one-year deal, and he's done. I don't think they're signing Tony Pollard to an extension. That's just my personal viewpoint. And then you have Ronald Jones, who really has to be your physical, make it happen back. And then you have Deuce that you drafted. That's a rookie. He's an undersized, a scat back. So why didn't the Cowboys take the opportunity to get younger and go cheaper, which is the Cowboys' typical philosophy, and draft a running back? And so I've struggled with that concept. I think they can get Zeke back maybe on a 1 or 2 year deal for cheap as we get closer to training camp. But kind of what are your thoughts about that?
I think they were open to drafting a running back earlier than they did before they went too small in the 6th round. I think they were open, and just the way the draft fell, there were certain players that they had ranked higher at that position, and so they just chose to go in that direction. It's just kind of the way it fell. That's my understanding of it. I agree with you. For a team that wants to run the football as much as Mike McCarthy has since he came to Dallas, it's a little peculiar that we haven't seen more of an investment. They brought in Ronald Jones, someone who at times was inactive in Kansas City. He's here now, and the Cowboys think he has fresh legs, and there's a lot that they like there. But still, in terms of investment, he came here on a minimum type contract, and then Deuce is a late day 3 pick, and they got Malik Davis coming back, but they didn't think enough of Malik Davis last year when Pollard goes down in a playoff game and they clearly need juice to make up for that loss, they just plotted Zeke out there and had no explosion from that position for the rest of that 49ers game. And I remember sitting in the press box thinking, wow, they really do not trust Malik Davis. And so then to do that and then to go into your offseason and not make much of an investment there, those two things don't really match up. And I don't know if that's part of the reason they made a change at running back coach. But still, that was, I think to me, it was a little odd that's the way that was handled back in Santa Clara. And then
so Michael, not to cut you off, Michael, but question: why don't they trust Malik? That's my question. I mean, he shows some burst, he shows some explosion. What's the issue with him?
My guess it was protection. As a young back, it probably just came down to pass pro. That would be my assumption. I know early in the season that was something I heard about Malik. That was kind of, they wanted to see him continue to develop, that facet of his game. And the Cowboys know this year are going to ask. I think they believe that he can do it, but maybe that was some of the logic last year. I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's the only thing I could think of. And then Rico Dowdle, he's healthy, and he hasn't been healthy for quite a while. But let's not forget that he made the Cowboys 53-man roster in September last year ahead of Malik Davis. So him being healthy, and I thought he had a really solid spring. That's a group. There's some pieces there, but I think the Cowboys really want to see that group, develop and kind of come together before they do anything too major at running back as it pertains. I just don't think it's a Dalvin Cook type of situation. Zeke is a separate category. We'll see there. I know Zeke really wanted to be back. He really, really did. But that's why I'm not closing the door. Presuming he doesn't have so much hard feelings about the way it went down in March and the lack of conversations about contract leading up to his release, I think we still have to keep an eye on that situation.
Michael,
Well,
I feel strong that Zeke is likely coming back. I feel very strongly about it. Obviously, I don't have the access that you do, but the one thing that I feel strong about is that draft told me that they likely are looking at a Zeke return because they stressed all offseason. They came out with the famous statement about, I want to run a damn ball, Mike McCarthy, right? So how can running back by committee, and I would also say the void of a power back, because I think that's what we missing, Michael. I think we missing a guy that we can trust to close out games. I think we missing a guy that can be a red zone guy, and I think we missing a short yardage guy. So wouldn't that kind of look like that they are very seriously exploring a Zeke return?
I don't know. They might feel that Ronald Jones can do a lot of that. They might feel that there's some toughness between the tackles and like Malik and Rico. So I wouldn't say declaratively that they feel there's this huge hole in terms of style in their backfield, but I mean, there's no doubt that was the strength of Zeke. When they look at what he does best for last season, it was the short yardage. It was like the short area, tough yards, falling forward and going through contact. Obviously, he had the knee injury, but still knee injury the past 2 years. But they still felt like that was where he was at his best, and it's such a clear compliment to Tony Pollard. So it's the fact that they complemented each other so well in the past, and thus would again, does make him a bit of a fit there because you are building a backfield around Pollard's abilities. But I don't know if it's such a void where I would say they feel like they can't exist without Zeke's presence.
All right, can I jump in on this?
You got it.
Okay, so I listened with Michael, with what you said, Michael, in the playoffs. So this is, I'm not hating on Zeke, but when you came out and we all saw it, they didn't trust Malik Davis. He had more explosion. When Tony Pollard went out that game, you saw it like we all saw it. The offense became stagnant. Zeke did not provide any kind of explosiveness. So my understanding is when Boston, I'm not hating, you said to close out games. I'm not using a Zeke Elliott at 27 now to close out games. He doesn't have that juice. No, he doesn't have that juice that he used to have. Y'all keep living off that old stuff. It's not the same Ezekiel Elliott any longer. Okay, that's just my opinion. You got to have a young. They're talking about getting younger and cheaper. I understand the Dalvin Cook thing, but it was only money because you signed Tony Pollard to the 1-year deal. And to OC's point, I agree with him. They were never going to, in my opinion, work out a long-term deal because I don't feel like they were going to keep him longer. They were just going to already settle for the 1-year deal, pay the $10 million, and that was that. So it's kind of on them that they wanted to do the $10 million. They couldn't have spread it out, and you could have got a cheaper guy. And the reason why I was talking about Dalvin Cook is, yes, he's going to be eliminated because of the money. But if you're going to sit there and tell me if he was affordable, you're not going to take him over Zeke Elliott when he still actually has juice. He's still getting long runs. He can run in between the tackles. You got explosiveness from in the backfield, and you still got your Rico Dowdell. You could still have a Malik Davis. That's why I was saying Ezekiel Elliott is not the closer. He can do short yardage, but just what Michael said, they feel like these other guys can do those same things with younger legs. And I just feel like Ezekiel Elliott is okay. But if you can find a better option, you should look at that because I don't feel like he's that type of guy that's really going to help the offense insubordinately and take us over the top. I just don't feel it. It's just my opinion.
I'll debate you on that later. I promise you I will. We go.
And I'm gonna debate you. I'm gonna debate you when Michael's not on. And me and you can have a show because I'm gonna win that one. I'm gonna win that one
tomorrow.
Yeah,
we gonna do this.
We sure
will.
will.
Go ahead.
Y'all run that back
sick of this
tomorrow.
We sure will.
All right, so.
And I'm gonna let Gelkin answer that, and then I got questions for him too. So Gelkin, you want to jump in on that? Ezekiel Elliott not being explosive with 12 touchdowns and all of that. You want to jump in?
Oh
on
my
that?
gosh, stop it!
Come on, man! Come on, man!
There's no doubt the big play element of his game was missing. So I'm not going to try to make that argument against it. I do think it's worth noting that he played through the knee issue on that final game. I mean, it closes out the season wearing a knee brace. There's something to be said for toughness. There's something to be said for understanding how to press a gap and how to run inside zone, how to run duo, how to run. He has a lot of good to his name. But I think of this book that is very well read within the Cowboys organization. It's called Legacy. It's a book about the All Black New Zealand rugby team, and there is one small. It's basically how to build like a winning culture, and it's not just about sports. There's application in business. There's application in all other facets of professional life, and one part of what makes the All Blacks successful is it's knowing your star players when it's time to let them go. And you could argue
hit that button too.
Hold on, wait, hold on, real quick. Wait, this one? Because you cutting off Michael Gehlken. This one?
Sorry.
That one or this one? Which one?
Hater. Go ahead, Michael. I didn't mean to cut you off. He's hating.
No, hold on. Or should we hit this button? Hell no. All right, go ahead, Mr. Gelkin. Go ahead.
If I can work in all three in this next, we can do it. But just knowing, when it's time to just all right, this person has given a tremendous amount to organization, but now we're moving on. It's like knowing when to release Julio Jones. It's knowing when to release, the day. Do we keep LaDainian Tomlinson or do we keep Michael Turner? They kept LT despite being later in his career, and he didn't give him much. Michael Turner went on to have the best seasons of his career in Atlanta. And so you kind of have to know when to let go of your stars. And so you could argue that that's what the Cowboys are doing. And you could argue based on production, based on financial investment that they made back in 2019, the way that contract was structured and all the guaranteed money that it gave Elliott the first 4 years of the deal, the Cowboys mishandled a star player and that it cost them. And so it's tough though, because there is that knee component, but at some point, if you can't stay healthy as a running back, does that become part of the evaluation or is it just bad luck? And there was a luck component, I think, to Elliott. And when you look at his early season production, it's what you associate with, a quality running back in this league, despite the age. So, I think you can kind of. I think it's a complex question, and you guys can go at it when I'm gone.
It can be overanalyzed to a degree. It can be overanalyzed to a degree because we can go back and look at it and say that, did we let go DeMarcus Ware a little too soon, right?
No, I'm not.
We thought that his neck was over with, and then the very next year he was able to bounce back and ultimately help that Denver Broncos team to win a Super Bowl. So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's a two-way street, and you want to be on the right side of it, and it's a gamble. We let go DeMarco Murray and brought in a guy named Julius what's his last name? Joseph Randall?
Joseph Randall.
Yeah. We elevated him. It didn't work out for us. So I look at this team. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? And that was with Malik Davis. You should have at least brought him in and ran a few plays to see what he can give us because of the way the 49ers were playing their zone cover defense of dropping everyone. So the Cowboys heading into this season, I think that before we even look at Dalvin Cook, before we look into any of these guys that we have to pay for as running back, I truly believe that we got to not put the cart in front of the horse and go ahead and pay Terence Steele. I think that would give us some assurance for that offensive line. Right now, he's more important to me than the running backs that we may go get, like a Dalvin Cooks or Kareem Hunt or bringing back Ezekiel Elliott. I think that Terence Steele should be that guy that we should solidify that long-term deal so that we can make sure that whoever we put out there, that we are solidified up front. What's your thoughts on that?
Hold on real quick. I got that for you right here.
I'm glad you mentioned Steele there because that's one that's kind of been quiet. Do you think is it imperative that they get an extension done with one of Diggs or Steele so that they're not left hanging, having to pick on who to tag? It's similar to where they ran into that with Amari and Dak, where it was like, well, we've got one tag and now we got to kind of expose somebody to the free agent market. Is it just a requirement that they've got to get one of them done here?
I think there's validity to that. And to me, Terence Steele is a type of guy that you want to pay. Like, he embodies so much of what draft and develop means. I mean, we talked a lot about, all the draft picks that we're going to see on the field at rookie minicamp. Let's not forget that Terence Steele was an undrafted rookie who, if I'm not mistaken, arrived here during the COVID-19 offseason, like 2020, 21, 22. Yeah, this is his fourth season in the league. That's right. So it's what he's done for a guy who showed up here undrafted, who showed up without the ability to have a screen, without the ability to have, a full training camp, without the ability to step on the field in the preseason as a rookie, all those things, and to be thrown in the fire year one and to win thereafter, back-to-back off-season awards for what he's doing in the weight room. And by all indications, has had a phenomenal recovery from his ACL. This is a guy, just character, work ethic, the way he, is gritty in terms of you look at what he does against the run. If you were to go frame by frame after the snap, last season, so often if the Cowboys are running some of their bread and butter plays in the run game, it's Terence Steele who's off the ball first.
Impressive.
So his first step and all those things.
That's so impressive. That film observation is so impressive. Let it keep going, and then we go get to this.
Yeah. Man, he on fire with it.
He on fire. Here we go. We got to talk about the Steele stuff. Steele is a mystery that only Mr. Michael Gehlken might be able to unravel. Here we go.
He just sets the tone in a lot of ways. So, to me, you jump at the chance to take care of Terence Steele, and you have to pay him as a tackle. There's been conversations about potentially moving him this season to guard, and we very well could see that come to fruition, but you've got to pay him as a tackle because that's what he is for your organization long term. But I think you get it done, and I think you get it done over 6 years, something like that. A very long-term deal that we've seen the Cowboys do with offensive linemen. They feel comfortable projecting that position forward across several years. We've seen that with Frederick deal. We've seen that with the Tyron Smith deal, and I think we should see it with Terence Steele.
All right, so this is what I got to say about that. Michael Gehlken, I think you missed your calling. I'm going to be all the way honest with you. You missed your calling because, see, that sounds like Johnny Cochran right there. Let me put my shit. You made a
good case.
Boy, that was an amazing case you made on Terence Steele. So I want to kind of highlight what you talked about that and then get your reflection on that based on Law Nation's question. So you got it.
Yeah, well, God, I talked so long that answer on the radio. It's hard to
Follow that up.
it. Yeah. I guess I'll elaborate on like the offseason that he's had.
Yeah.
This is no small knee injury. It's not like it was a clean ACL, and it's not like because it was his ACL, his MCL, his MPFL, which is connected to like your kneecap. That ligament is, and so it wasn't clean ACL, and it wasn't something that happened in camp or something that happened in September or October or even November. This is a December injury, December surgery. And so when you have a late season procedure that is not simple in terms of the reconstruction, and it can take time. And so as we talk about how Terence Steele fits in the immediate, let's see where he is at the start of camp. He probably is going to start in the PUP list. Okay, and we'll see how he progresses and whether or not the Cowboys activate him from PUP. The way that they talk, you'd think that he will be activated before week 1 because they don't want him to miss, the first handful of games, and they think that he can do enough. But then again, it was a December knee reconstruction, and Cowboys like to play a numbers game when it comes to assembling the best 53-man roster. They're just trying to get as many quality guys in their building, and keep them in their building, and not expose any of the guys they really like who are young to waivers. And so, if you keep a young guy as one of your 53, and you're not exposing, pick a name there, like a Matt Walesko or a Austin Richards, or so on and so forth. You can just keep Steele shelved for the start of the year, and that will assure that one of those guys is there in your building, and you're not waving them and holding your breath for 24, 48 hours. So I'm getting way ahead of myself. We'll see how his recovery is, and if Terence Steele's ready for the season, he's ready to go. But I just think, as it relates to him in the short term, and you guys are asking me about the left guard thing, but there's a lot that just depends on his rehab, and so let's kind of just wait and see how things go there. But in the long term, he's the right tackle of the future. Cowboys really, really want to keep Terence Steele, and for all the reasons that I discussed that you heard. So I think it should get done. I think he doesn't. I don't know if they ask him to play left guard, he'll do it, but they haven't asked him yet. I can tell you that as a fact. And so right now in his rehab, he's focusing on being the right tackle. The steps he's making in terms of his pass sets and the so forth, the movements in his rehab, all of that is that of a right tackle. And so right now they're just focusing on where his natural position is, and maybe he comes back and they said, all right, we feel that with it being your inside leg, it might help you initially if rather than being on the right side of the offensive line, you're on the left side of the offensive line. That's something someone I respect, David Chow, Sports Injury Central. He used to be the longtime Cowboys, Chargers team doctor. He thinks there's something to the inside leg for an offensive lineman. So I just think there's a lot of there's a lot of moving pieces here, and ultimately it's predicated on his rehab, and we'll see how it all goes. And then it's also predicated if he's not ready until late training camp, until late August, whatever it is, then you start thinking about what the 53-man roster is going to look like. And if you activate him from PUP before the season, okay, you're going to get him back, but who are you going to expose to waivers that you wouldn't otherwise? So I just think there's so much to this conversation. It's a fascinating conversation.
It's layered.
Fascinating. We go
but
camp
the
out.
simplest of it is you pay Terence Steele, and you don't let him out of your building long term because of who he is and what he represents.
No doubt.
And I've got some feedback about this, Mike. And one of the things, the reason why the doctor mentioned, easier to play on the left side, is because that's his power leg. So that left knee, that's his power leg. So that's where he's generating all his force from. So yeah, theoretically it would be easier, but long term is going to make him stronger to be forced to push off of that left leg, because that's going to get him back to full tilt in terms of his quickness and explosion. But my question is this. There's only one top 5 right tackle in terms of cap number or salary that had more than a 4-year deal. and that's that tackle from the Saints, Ryan Ramczewski, right? He has a 5-year deal. The other top 5 contractual guys that are right tackles, they're all on 4-year deals. Now, when Steele is healthy, in my mind, he's a top 5 right tackle in the NFL, no question. So in terms of his number, in terms of what the Cowboys do in terms of his total number, and I'll just give some context to this. Ryan Ramczewski has a 5-year, $96 million contract, going down to the 5th guy, just for conversation's sakes, Jawin Taylor, he has a 4-year, $80 million contract. So this is my contention that if Terence Steele comes out here and he plays more than half a season, he looks at least 85% of himself, his number goes up through the roof. And it's going to be hard for the Cowboys to haggle him and get him down if his performance is close to a Pro Bowl level. So the wisdom, in my opinion, is for the Cowboys to get this done early, because if they get it done early, they're going to have the best chance to get what they want, which is a team-friendly contract. Otherwise, if he's healthy and he plays pretty well, his numbers going to go through the roof. What are your thoughts about that?
Let me jump in here real quick. Real quick.
Go ahead, boss.
Because I heard what I thought I heard Michael Gehlken say was he expect Terence Steele contract to resemble what we've seen in the past with our guys. So when you look at our guys, and you right, OC, to look around the market, I agree with you, right? But when you look at the contracts that our best guys have done, Michael Gehlken to me is saying that he should resemble what we've done in the past, which is bet on our offensive linemen long term. Am I understanding that right, Mr. Gelkin?
What was Collins' numbers?
He did a 5-year. So
He
Collins
did a 5-year.
He did a 5-year. T. Smith did 8 and 6 was Zack Martin, and 6 was Fredericks. So
I'm talking about, was he like top 10, top 5 in right tackle money?
Yeah, he was top 5 in right tackle money when he signed his deal, because he had like a $50 million deal,
but it
something
was
of that
team
effect.
Friendly though, it was actually team friendly because I think that's gonna happen also with Terence Steele, because I was thinking with Terence Steele, then we go definitely get Michael on this because he gonna have to settle this little fight that broke out, but I think that's going to happen with Terence Steele, because it seems to me when a guy is injured, they seem to take those friendly deals. Like Jalen Smith, he took a team-friendly deal at linebacker. Then Collins took a team-friendly deal at right tackle, because he also, could have had more money as a first-rounder. But I want
but boss, real quick, my point was this. Point that I don't want to be escaped here is that the sooner you get it done, the better. Because if he shows health on that left leg and he plays half a season for you and you hadn't extended him, you hadn't got it done, it goes to the end of the season, his numbers are going to go up because he's proven he's healthy.
Agreed.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you let Terence Steele as a top type tackle, and we'll see, he's ascended every level, which every season he's played in this league, and so his arrow is still pointing up. So if he continues to ascend with his game, and despite the injury, physically he looks leaner than he has since he's been in Dallas. He's had a really good year physically, which is tough to do. Usually a guy's rehabbing all offseason, he doesn't really make gains in terms of becoming a better football player necessarily. You kind of see it take a year to kind of get back, but he looks like he's in a really strong shape physically going into this year. So if he takes a leap or a step forward, whatever it may be, whatever type of length his improvement comes to be, and he becomes a free agent in March, there are a lot of teams who pay a lot of top offensive tackles. That's the premier position in this league. Yeah, and that underscores the importance of taking care of him. He's better in the run game than he is pass protection, but still, if you can add a top type tackle, you pay to do it in this league, and that's what would happen. So I think the Cowboys know that, and you know what? Who also knows it is Eric Burkhart, Terence Steele's agent. And so, what kind of rush is he going to be in to get a deal done? Especially if there's chatter about his client potentially being moved to guard. I mean, that might not be something he's super thrilled about, without putting words in his mouth. But there's a chance that he wants to see how that plays out before he does anything, or get some assurances to that end. Some clarity as to what things look like in the future, or some questions at least in conversations with the Cowboys should they go down that road. So there's again just a lot to the Terence Steele thing, but to me, you got to do whatever you can to get that done. I forget what your exact question was, OC. I hope I answered it.
Hey, Big, you got some? Because I definitely do.
Not on offense. I don't.
Definitely do. I definitely something on this.
Well, let me slide this one in right quick. Let me slide this in right quick. Gelkin, since you got a promotion right now to be like the GM of the Dallas Cowboys, who is your starting 5 offensive line right now if we had to play this Sunday?
Well, thankfully, I would listen to Mike Solari. I would listen to the guy who's been coaching the NFL offensive line since 1987, which also happens to be the year that I was born.
Wow.
So I would defer to those who know more than me. I think that's important of any leader. And Mike Solari knows a hell of a lot more than Michael Gehlken as it pertains to what the starting 5 should look like. And I don't know if that sounds like that might sound like a load of crap, but truly that's how I feel when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Like we can speculate, we can think about different combinations on the offensive line, but ultimately there's coaches in the room, and as much as like sports talk and sports take, and that's the culture, right? And maybe that's why I'll never be on these shows on ESPN or whatever, Fox Sports 1 and all that. I don't really. I have a lot of deference to those who are in the room. And so I can't tell you what the right 5 should be early September against the Giants in MetLife.
It's too soon. It's too soon.
It's hard enough in June. I don't know if the Cowboys at this point would confidently say what the 5 will be. They should love what they've done with Tyler Smith, because he can play left tackle. He's certainly proven that, and he can also play left guard. He's demonstrated that very much as well. So they've got a lot of flexibility on their offensive line, and the fact that they've spent so much time developing flexibility rather than trying to create guesswork as to what the 5 is going to look like that week 1 game. To me, that shows like a real experienced perspective about what's most important here, is that you might have that 5, but we saw last year, Cowboys had their 5, and left guard Connor McGovern didn't even make it out of the first drive of the season because he had a high ankle sprain. And boom, just like that in this league, you're on to plan B. And not to mention, I guess it's plan C because of what happened with Tyron Smith in the final practice of training camp when the Cowboys were back in Frisco following Oxnard, and he has the hamstring tendon surgery. So there's just so much fluidity that is part of the game. And the Cowboys are right now just living in that gray area. And I think that's exactly where their mindset should be. So as owner, I'm saying keep doing what you're doing, Mike Solari. And if I can go ahead and pay Terence Steele 6 years, $90 million, I'm doing that too.
All right, and we gonna let you go after this, Michael Gehlken. I wanted to, because obviously he has a newborn baby. He has totally blessed us with a lot of content. We go definitely recap this as soon as you leave. But I want to talk about real quick this Steele thing, and then you out. Because I'm trying to put this together, okay? So you said a lot. You talked about likely starting on the PUP, right? So the good thing about the active PUP list, for the training camp, the active PUP list is they can pull him off of that PUP list, which would be a good sign that he might be ready for week 1. But if he gets on the reserve PUP list, he's going to miss 4 games. You talked about, which I definitely heard you on, is he had a December nasty knee injury. And you also said, which I caught, you could say for a fact that they have not talked about moving him to left guard yet. So with all of that, I'm thinking I don't see how he plays left guard, because based on everything I heard, I don't even see how he's ready for week 1. So I'm gonna assume just on everything that I heard and everything that you said that he's gonna be on a reserve. If he's on a reserve pup list, do you really foresee the Dallas Cowboys after 4 games potentially shuffling him to left guard, even if they're trying to make the best 5?
That'd be asking a lot of someone who hasn't played guard to go with all the missed time. It's one thing to change positions like Matt Waletzko is. Matt Waletzko's never played guard in his life, and he did it in the spring because Solari asked him to, and he's like, "Well, shoot! Like the more versatile I can be, the better for my career. So yeah, let me learn to play guard." That's the mindset that Terence Steele, I think, would have if the Cowboys were to approach him. Again, they haven't, but if they were to approach him, but it's one thing to do that when a guy's in spring and he's healthy, but when the guy's working on the cords with director of rehabilitation Rip Brown, and he's missing the start of training camp. I mean, how much time is he really going to have to build a chemistry with left tackle Tyler Smith and center Tyler Biadasz to work on the combination blocks, to reprogram his brain that's used to this play, meaning this step. Now all of a sudden, my footing's completely changed. It's backwards. It's inverse. You talk about Jalen Tolbert thinking too much last year. I mean, how much would Terence Steele be thinking this year? What kind of position are you putting him in? Is it one to be successful? So that's all valid, and that's all something that we're going to have to see what it looks like come summer. But yeah, I think that's a valid concern. That again, it's just there. That's why this whole Terence Steele thing is just so fascinating. Yes, because there's so much complexity to it, and here in June, we have more questions than we have answers, but it'll keep us engaged, in the months ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Gelkin. We really enjoy every time that you come on the Final Word and just really help us out with what's really going on the inside. You have been wonderful. Any final words?
Thank you, Michael.
Any final words?
Appreciate you.
Final words.
Appreciate you, and take care of that newborn.
Yes, indeed.
I will.
Man.
2 months old. You're busy.
You're a gem for the community, man. Everybody reach out to me about you, man, and you continue doing your thing out there.
We appreciate
and
you.
Represent the beard, man. Beard gang all day, y'all. Y'all see it over there.
I'm trying to get his final words. What's your final words before you go?
Well, I think so. I've covered the Chargers for 7 years. I covered the Raiders for 2.5. Now this will be my 5th season covering the Cowboys. And the one common thread of what I've enjoyed most about the job, outside of just like the locker room and the interaction and telling guys the stories and earning their trust and making them comfortable to tell me those stories, it's being able to appreciate the fan base that exists across the league. And I think you guys and what you have here, quality of production, the quality of what you guys, the conversations and how much work you guys put in, but I know it's fun and your passion, all that is just, it makes my job more gratifying. So you guys are thanking me. I thank you.
Thank you. Wow, man, that's Mr. Michael Gehlken. Go take care of that little baby. Talk to you later. Thank you so much. That was Mr. Michael Gehlken, and yes, that was. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot because that was amazing. All right, so let's talk about this. So first of all, before we kind of get and recap some of the stuff that I got out this interview, I first want to kind of highlight Mr. Gelkin. I want to highlight this. This is important because I want to show that the most important questions of the seasons have come from Michael Gehlken. So do y'all remember this particular question?
You mentioned how the Chargers were kind of taking away the deep passing game. Yeah. What's the balance of, as an offense, you obviously want to take what the defense gives you, but is there some level at the same time you don't want to let the defense dictate where you attack them?
Man, come on, man. You supposed to lead off with that one, man. What's wrong with you, man?
No, I'm just highlighting them. I'm highlighting the type of questions you get from Michael Gehlken. He literally said, is there a time you don't want the defense to dictate where the ball goes? That came from Michael Gehlken. So, do y'all remember this?
The decision to head on Amari, his usage, not just production, but in terms of how often he was targeted, even when he was on the field, it was down. Mm-hmm. What do you make of his relative lack of involvement, especially for someone who's got the contract of a number 1 wide receiver?
I just say,
ooh, he's sniping.
Woo!
That boy sniping Gelkin.
And do y'all remember this one?
Dallas Morning News. How many reps and time on task goes into an option route between quarterback and receiver? And when you're making that change at quarterback, even if you're running your offense, how cognizant do you have to be of just that time on task that some of these guys don't have in Cooper?
A lot of great questions today, but this is my favorite. So we get to talk a little ball here. But no, I've never been a big option route thrower.
Oh!
That boy sniping, man. The man on the grassy knoll. You know? That boy
Like,
good.
so,
Yeah.
the biggest, I wanted to highlight that because that shows you that, like he said, I'm not an FX1 guy. I understand what he's saying with that. It's not in him to try to, what's the word? Bait you, clickbait you. He can't do it. It's not in his DNA. The only thing that he does is ask football questions.
Yep, he's a sniper.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about real quick, guys. What I heard from this. So
and I got
his picture in there. You got his picture in there.
Oh, my bad.
Cut that out.
I'm doing too much. I'm doing too much. Thank you, Big. Thank you, Big.
Yeah. And I got about 2 soups that I just got to read out right quick. But go ahead.
Yeah, I got some soups.
Oh, you want me to go?
No, go.
All right,
you get your soups, I get mine.
All right, so Coach Marv asked question at linebacker, how is the Cowboys feeling about Clark and having a major role this year? I guess it was supposed to be for Gelkin, and we didn't get a chance to steer the conversation back over to defense.
Yeah.
But I'm quite sure that Damone Clark wasn't available anytime this year around this time, so I'm quite sure that he will step in and be even more of an impact for this team. And then the second super chat was from Ernest Ellsbury, man. Appreciate you. He says, Law, you are on fire, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank y'all too for those support, man, and help growing the nation for the Oxnard Fund and beyond. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so, because we talked about a lot, so let's start where we started from. So we started from the Jalen Tolbert, right? So he came out and he let out a lot out about Jalen Tolbert's confidence. He talked
What's
about
up with the OC?
He could.
Oh, okay.
He not froze.
Okay, I thought you was froze, OC.
No, I'm good.
So that Jalen Tolbert and just the fact that he playing faster, and obviously he wrote an article about that. So, but let's go ahead and get into this fight, Big, because I know you ready to have this fight. Let's go, bro.
I mean,
let's go, because what you said.
Well, hold up. Let me say this. I just retweeted something because I was watching, looking at my Twitter as well. My dog George T, who I'm gonna be hollering at tomorrow. I just wanted to see what he had to say on something, and here he comes out here, former Cowboy. Give me Dalvin Cook. Great complimentary back to Pollard, who had the ability to take that house on any play around our pass. I'm just saying.
Oh, you playing dirty.
Him.
You trying to get league dudes to validate your argument. Go ahead, Big. Go ahead.
Shame.
I'm just saying. It's not no shame. It's real. Y'all keep on hyping Ezekiel Elliott. You just heard Michael Gehlken say.
So you think
sometimes
we hyping? Hyping?
You are hyping because you're saying.
Where are we?
Yeah, hold up. Because you're saying, because what you're saying, you just heard him say, sometimes you got to know when it's over. Okay? Sometimes you got to know when it's over. The ship has sailed, in my opinion, on Ezekiel Elliott. He's sitting out. Who else is signing him? I want to know.
Hold on, Big Game James. Is that exactly what the Minnesota Vikings is doing to Cooks then? Aren't they saying, hey, it's over with? Are they tired
of seven? No, they're saying because you cost too much money.
They're saying in the last 2 years.
No.
So you're going to take less money to be a backup guy? He's going to take less money to be over here?
What I'm saying is you still saw explosionness in Dalvin Cook. Am I correct, Law? Am I correct?
Yeah. He do have.
You saw explosion. He still has not some burst. He still has a burst. You saw it. You saw his burst in many games. He ran for 1,100 yards, right?
7 fumbles in the last 2 years.
Oh, and what is
You taking
Ezekiel
that?
Elliott had? He just cleaned
One
this up.
fumble in the
Remember
last
2020?
two.
He had 6.
One fumble in the last 2 versus 7
Just
fumbles.
a couple
That's
years
okay.
ago, he had 6.
That's 2020, man. Pandemic, man. Whole everything, man.
Oh,
you
that
know how
wasn't
that
about no
goes.
pan.
Come on, man.
It don't matter. You keep on harping on these 12 touchdowns like he's running from the 50-yard line. He's not. He's getting him a short yardage. We can still run the ball. You can get the Malik Davis. You can get any of those guys as the third back. You can keep 3 running backs on this roster. But if you're talking about if you have a matchup, you're going to sit there and tell me if you had a choice of Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, or if you could get Cooks and you had Cooks and Pollard, you're taking Ezekiel Elliott over Dalvin Cook. That's what you're telling me.
I am. Yes.
Wow. That's crazy.
I am.
That's absolutely
let me
crazy.
make my case.
That's
can I make my
crazy.
case?
I got downs on the case too, but go ahead.
You go first.
Okay. That's crazy.
OC, you want to jump in this too? Do you want to jump in this?
You want to get in on this?
Well,
You want to get in on
Because
this?
I
Yeah,
want
I
to
do.
just first know where you stand before you stand first. You Zeke? Okay.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think that you have a combination of what Dalvin Cook could do for you, right? With Malik, right, and with Ronald Jones. Like you have a combination of that already. You got your number one guy, which is Pollard. So I don't think the Cowboys will go spend a dime to get my guy Dalvin Cook, right? They're not going to do it. And I think that in terms of being an inside 3 to 4 yard finisher, after further review and looking at a lot of tape about this, and I have spent some time on this the past couple of weeks, I mean, I don't see a better finisher, man, that knows how to get small and that knows how to get big and be a hammer when they need to. And I think with the power run attack and the G-traps in the West Coast offense and some of the concepts now that Brian Schottenheimer will employ, I think it would actually fit very, very well for a back with the skill set of Ezekiel Elliott. So that's where I stand.
And why don't Big understand that? That's my question.
I understand that, but he don't have it anymore. You just watched the last game when we had a chance. When Tony Pollard went out, you had a back in Malik Davis. Yes, they didn't trust him, but he was more of explosive. He could have helped that game. When Ezekiel Elliott came in the game, there was absolutely nothing. It was absolutely nothing. He was getting like 1 yard a carry. We played the Tennessee Titans, right? We played the Tennessee Titans. He had 13 yards. Y'all can say what you want. You can shake your head if you want. It's over for Ezekiel Elliott. It is over. There are no teams that are going to go out there and get him. And people are trying to say I'm disrespecting him. No, I'm not. I'm just calling it where I see it. Sometimes when a player has played too much, it's over. Let's see the market. There is none. There is not a market for Ezekiel Elliott right now.
Big, I agree with you on that. Big is one of those guys that Ezekiel Elliott is one of those guys, that will get signed late. He'll get signed when somebody gets injured, or he'll get signed like right at the beginning of the regular season. And I think that's the sweet spot that the Cowboys are kind of waiting for. That once camp gets started, they're going to see how it goes with Ronald Jones. They're going to see how this thing goes with Collins. They're going to let them compete a little bit. And if it's not looking good, you go see number 21 right back in there. And or if somebody goes down, he's getting signed the next day. So that's what's going to happen in this situation.
Facts and facts. Law, you got downs. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Let me scoop
We
on
jumping you
here,
today,
man.
Talk about your 12 touchdowns.
We jumping you, dog.
I'm not beating
That's
my
fine.
dog up, Big
I'm
Game
ready for you,
James.
John.
I love his objectivity on this, but this is my
Y'all
thoughts
wrong.
right here. I'm leaning on what the OC just said. You got to first see and evaluate what you got, right? Hunter Luepke could be a guy that can burn it up for us this offseason.
He's a rookie.
It's hard. He's a rookie, right? So was
From
Terrell
a
Davis.
Division II college.
Yeah.
Division II college.
What did Terrell Davis do when he got undrafted?
He went to
and
Georgia.
came to a team?
He went to Georgia. He didn't play at
Georgia
North
was the
Dakota
powerhouse
State.
during that time
Big
frame.
difference.
Come on, man.
Big
But
difference.
what I'm saying is we got to first evaluate what we have. We just had Gelkin on, and he was talking about the money, Money, and the
That's
money
all it is.
states. It's about the money.
It's about the money.
I don't foresee Dalvin Cook looking at this situation saying that he will play for peanuts.
Right.
I'm looking at Dalvin Cook looking at a deal where he want anywhere between $6 and $8 million.
I don't want to talk about the money though. You need to break down what is going to offer Ezekiel Elliott. We already know the money. We already know Dallas is not going to sign him because of the money. We're talking about the player. You tell me the difference between a more explosive Dalvin Cook or a short yardage back in Ezekiel Elliott, because y'all talking about he can get skinny, which he can, but we seen in games when Tony Pollard wasn't in there, the running game stopped.
It did. It stopped, but at some point you got to draw a line in the sand. Was this?
Yeah, you do.
At this point, was that more of Kellen Moore or was that Ezekiel Elliott? Who was the person that's trash?
Keep on blaming Kellen Moore every time?
Well, wait a minute.
I'm not blaming Kellen Moore every time.
So Kellen Moore was brilliant in dolling up running plays, right?
I didn't say
he was bad,
but we almost still had 2,000-yard rushes. You had a Tony Pollard who wasn't the starter, still had 1,000 yards, so it wasn't that terrible if Tony Pollard finally got used the way he was supposed to, right? Because that's what we were complaining the last few years, that they were not using Tony Pollard the way they're supposed to. They finally used him the right way in some capacity this year, and that's why he got the deal, and that's why Ezekiel Elliott got cut.
Okay, so I feel you with that, but
Take
that
off
means
that picture, boss.
the other end of the argument that Joe Mixon, who had less rushing yards and less touchdowns, all of a sudden Ezekiel
You're still
Elliott
on
had
this
more
Joe
rushing
Mixon
touchdowns.
thing.
Come on, man, I'm still on it, man. Because at some point, where does Ezekiel Elliott wash lies? Is it lies within the offensive line, the play calling, or Zeke himself? Which one is it? Or where is it?
Zeke himself, he doesn't have the same, I'm telling you, he doesn't have the same burst. He doesn't have that same step. And if your offensive line is compromised, which we're still in flux, we're still trying to figure out. You just heard Gelkin say that you might still have Terence Steele out on the PUP, and you're talking about 4 games, right?
Yep.
We don't know what Matt Walesko is going to do. We don't know what Josh Ball is going to do. We don't know what Farinaut's going to do. We don't know who we're sliding in. We don't know how that line is going to be in. So if that line is in flux and you have a guy who's not the same as Ezekiel Elliott, you tell me what defense is going to be scared of Ezekiel Elliott. And if, let's say, Pollard goes down and you had Ezekiel Elliott was your main back again and he was the starter, this offense would become stagnant.
Okay, I got to jump in there. Hold on, because Law, he landed some punches on you. I think I got to drop big. I got you on this, dog. I think I got you. I got you on this, bro. I'm going to just ask you some questions because I don't think you heard OC, bro. I'm just keeping it real.
I heard OC.
You my dog, but I don't think you heard him, bro.
I heard him.
Because first of all, let me ask you a question. Was the OC originally with you on this debate? Yes or no?
Yes, but that's okay.
No,
I love OC, but if you want to go to your side, Bob.
No. I just want to ask you a question. But see, and then the OC, he evolved just like I did. Because I was not. No, hear me out, bro. Because this is the key thing. This is the key thing that the OC said. And this is also why I'm favoring Zeke. Because of Brian Schottenheimer's zone scheme and the way that he fits. Especially if that knee is not a problem. There is
But it's been a problem the last 2 years, boss.
I agree with that. But my question is this.
Doesn't that alarm you that he's never been hurt? Okay, he's never been hurt.
Why.
He's been a warrior
in
his last 2 years.
Because what happened to him big could happen to any. What happened to him could have happened to Pollard.
Right, but when you get older, it's easier to happen. Am I not correct on that?
That part I do agree with. That Father Time does not fail. But my point is this:
more knee injuries, doesn't that slow you down?
It could if it's a degenerative. If it's a degenerative knee injury, yes. But we don't know that. If it is, we don't want him back. But if it was just a freakish injury, which it looks like, because the first injury, he got hit directly on it, which could have happened to Pollard. The second one, he hyperextended it based on how he came down. That could have happened to anybody.
But we've seen him play those first 4 or 5 years, and he's probably been hit like that, and he popped right up. And that's just because that young age, the durability, the things of that nature. I feel like he's had the most carries since he's came in the league, boss. Do you know that? The most carries since he's come in the league, he's had the most carries in the NFL. You don't think that wears down?
Oh no, it wears
Father
on
Time catches up
it
with you.
wears on. No,
and that's
does.
what's happening. And I just
you're
said,
making an
if
assumption
Pollard
on
were to
that.
go, okay, I'll go away from that. But if Pollard goes out 5 games, you're going to tell me this offense is not going to miss a beat with Ezekiel Elliott as the starter 5 games. We're going to still hit the ground running, and everything's going to be good.
If Zeke is healthy, we're not going to miss a beat. Not even a little bit.
Wow.
We might be better. This is the one thing I want
no,
you
we're
to get
not.
rid.
We're not. We are not going to be better with Ezekiel Elliott being the starter.
Let me ask you a question, Big. You got to keep it real now.
Healthy.
You got to keep it real with me. Will you keep it real?
I've been keeping it real.
All right, so I'm going to ask you this question. Before Zeke got injured, who was playing better football at the running back position? Was it Pollard or Zeke?
Pollard was balling.
Zeke was balling more, bro. If you go back to 2021 and you look at Zeke before he hurt that knee, Zeke was crushing them balls. Zeke and Pollard led the league in rushing, bro. Yes, in 2021 for the first 8 games.
What year is it now?
It's 2023, but I'm just saying.
Thank you.
But no, you ignoring the key thing that I'm saying. The key thing that I'm saying, and then I'm gonna get off this because I already won this debate. This was easy.
I won. I beat all 3 of y'all. Y'all jumped me. I got all y'all.
Listen,
Are you crazy?
I'm glad we
y'all.
fought because I was waiting to fight somebody on this too.
I killed y'all. Stop hyping it up. You lost, and
You
ask
know
people
the
in the chat.
Cowboys ain't gonna pay Dalvin Cook $7 to $10 million.
Exactly. We not gonna pay
You
no
keep on
Dalvin
going
Cook.
to the
What is
money,
wrong
Law.
with Big?
That's what I know I
Wait a
won.
minute.
Law already out. I beat Law. Law already out. You keep going to money. I'm going to the player. You keep talking to money. We already agreed on the money. We talked about that. I've already beat you, Law. Ask people in the chat who won. It's me. This team is not going to.
Let's ask the chat. Chat. Who won this debate?
Who won?
Did Big win this debate?
Because I'm looking at my chat, I had 2 people come over in my chat and said, I'm coming over your chat because they talking delusional over there.
They said that? Somebody said that?
Well, tell them,
y'all talking about us like that?
What planet will the Cowboys pay Dalvin Cook $7 to $10 million?
See, here go the money.
Wait a minute.
Let's keep Law off the conversation.
Let's keep trying to bring you to reality.
To tell you the real.
I already know the reality. We had the reality when we had Brian Broaddus on the show. We have the reality when we had Brian Broaddus on the show, and he told us the money is spent. He's not getting it. I said, okay, I feel you. I
That's
made
a good point.
Video right after that.
No.
I made a video
That's a bad point.
Let me finish. Let me finish because I made a video right after that, and I said the Cowboys will not sign Dalvin Cook because of the money. But don't tell me those other reasons, because if you got Dalvin Cook and Dalvin Cook came to Dallas and said, you know what? I'm trying to win a championship. I like it here. I'll take a lower salary to come here. Boy, y'all crazy in your dome if y'all gonna sit there and say, we don't want Dalvin Cook. We want Ezekiel Elliott. No.
I want a healthy Zeke over a healthy Zeke over a healthy Cook in this particular run scheme. Yes, I do.
Y'all crazy.
Yes. Let me ask you a question, Big, and don't be faking over here. Don't fake either. Keep it real.
Who did
Keep it
Dalvin
real.
Cook?
I want to ask you a question, and don't.
Let me say one thing before you do it. I haven't been lying. Let me just say one thing. He got 1,100 yards on 15 carries a game. He averaged 15 carries. He was already sharing carries with Madison and another running back. So it wasn't like he was carrying the load.
Yeah, man.
Give me Kareem Hunt,
right
man.
I'm sorry to do you like this, Big, but
oh, you see this guy? See this guy? Number 1 bullshit guy. He do the wee woo.
Play it for you. Play it for you, cause you wooing like a mother sucker.
No, you wooing right now, bro. You are. It's you. All right,
you delusional.
No. Let's talk about this,
you are
bro.
delusional.
I'm gonna ask you one question just to test your realness, cause you've always passed this test. Don't go to.
It's all fake news.
Don't do this.
It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
Don't go down the fake news when I ask you this question. We need to know.
You are fake news.
We need to make sure you
Come
are
on.
not fake news.
Come on with
when
the
I ask
damn
you this
question.
Come
on with the damn
I had to
question.
set it up, bro. I had to set up. You know I got to put some
I
face
heard the
on
setup.
that.
Come with the
All right, here we
question.
go. Who is more beast mode, Cook or Zeke?
It's gonna be if we're talking about the power and everything, it's Ezekiel Elliott.
Okay, so that's my point.
Who's more
and that's
explosive?
why case closed. I won.
Answer my question. Now.
See, I won.
It's a big thing for Boss Cowboy to actually say publicly that he drunk Kool-Aid. Listen, I do not drink Kool-Aid without first measuring.
Oh man, I won. That's so easy. Cause my question is this: how are you gonna say? And you with a straight? Let me look at your face. Yeah, he got a straight face too. How you gonna say with a straight face, bro? You said this with a straight face, didn't it, Law? Law, didn't it? He said with a straight face that Zeke was more Marshawn Lynch than Cook, but at the same breath, you want Cook over Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch was under
He
Brian
is not no
Schottenheimer's scheme,
Marshawn
bro.
Lynch right now. Please stop with that madness.
You the one saying it, bro. You said
Because you threw a
you
question
said
to
who.
me.
I
You tried
asked
to
you
trick
one
me.
question, bro. I
You're
said
trying to trick
who
me.
right now is more
You tricked me.
Marshawn Lynch,
That's
Zeke
fine. You
or
tricked
Cook,
me.
and you said Zeke. So how do you
Guess
see
what?
that Marshawn
Guess
was
what?
successful
Dalvin
under Brian
Cook
Schottenheimer?
was never beast mode. Understand that. Am I correct on that? Was Dalvin Cook ever a beast mode like
No,
Marshawn Lynch? Because
that's my
even
point.
Marshawn Lynch was not super fast, but he was a powerful back. But even when he was in Seattle his last few years, can you not agree with me that he had lost that juice, and that's why they started going with them other running backs? Am I right, OC?
Here's
You're right
what I
about that.
want. No, here's what I want for all three of y'all to know.
All right.
I want these running backs that we got now to change our mind, so that we don't even have to bring back Ezekiel Elliott nor Dalvin Cook. I want these boys to elevate and showcase what they got. Now, I still want to keep. You know how you keep that squeeze number in your phone? You know what I'm saying? Yes, indeed. And we got to be that squeeze and making sure that she don't go nowhere and making sure that she close by the phone just in case those running backs that we got now. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you this. Even Rico Dowdell, because we liked Rico Dowdell because he does have ability, but he's always hurt. But y'all, I want to ask all y'all, Malik Davis, did he have more juice than Ezekiel Elliott when you watched him run?
Yeah, he did.
He has more burst.
He had more, and
he was only like a 4.6. He's almost like a 4.6 guy.
Big. This is where you're not keeping it real, bro.
I've been
Malik
keeping
Davis
it
was
real.
also coming in there as a change of base back where he was not used in the same situations. Zeke was used on the hardest downs for any running back, the short yardage.
Really?
What do you face with short yardage situations?
Go watch that Tennessee game, man.
No. Answer this question, Big,
watch
because
it.
I
It
know
was
you
them
know
two.
football, bro.
You
That's one thing I know
question.
about you. You know football.
never answer
Let me
my
ask you a
questions,
question.
though.
I'm gonna ask you a question. You gotta answer it.
You never answer mine.
You gotta answer this question. Are you gonna answer the question?
I do. You
All right, here
gonna
we
answer
go.
mine?
I will. You ask first, and I'm gonna ask second. I'm gonna remember mine.
Good. Remember it
All right,
because
here we go.
watch
Let
that
me ask you this
Tennessee
question.
game.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Which situation is harder on a running back? Short yardages, red zones, or closing out? Or if you just get subbed into a game on an even down? Which one is easier to run the ball?
Subbed in on an easier down.
Exactly. So that's what Malik Davis was getting. He was being a change of pace back where you
In that Tennessee game?
Well, I ain't gonna act like I remember that Tennessee game like the back of my
I
hand,
do because I just
don't.
watched it.
Okay, see,
I just watched
you got
it.
an advantage over me because you just watched the game. I'm not gonna fake like I
Go
did.
watch it.
But when you talking
watch
about the
Ezekiel Elliott in that
situation,
Tennessee
but we
game.
talking about the situation, Big.
Okay.
The situation that Zeke was asked to run in was the toughest situations. That's why I don't be talking about these averages like some might do. Look at this average, look at this, look at that. No, look at the situation Zeke was having. So you telling me that if Malik Davis was put in the red zone, that he would be just as good as Zeke? If Malik Davis was put in mostly short yard situation where he had to be a power back, you saying he would do what Zeke is doing?
I can't say that.
You know he wouldn't, bro. Come on now. You know
I don't know that. I don't know that. I didn't see it.
All right.
Is that guesstimating?
That is. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be an assumption. I'm going to be fair. That is an assumption. That would be an assumption. But I would make a good assumption that likely no. I think that's a good assumption.
That's a good assumption, but it's once again, it's an assumption because we don't know. We didn't see Malik Davis put in them situations because remember, you just heard Michael Gehlken say they didn't trust him. You know what I mean? So since they didn't trust him, man, he was undrafted. He didn't get drafted. He was undrafted. So in that aspect, you know, and he kept on, you heard what Brian Broader said. He kept on saying, I want to get in. I want to play. Y'all let me work all this hard and I'm not getting in the game. And you heard him say that that's one of the reasons why they played that game against him in that San Francisco, that he was kind of pouting why he didn't get in. But you're going to sit there and tell me in that San Francisco game, when Tony Pollard went out and you had Ezekiel Elliott who looked a whole shell of himself, Malik Davis wouldn't have gave us some juice and kept that offense kind of pumping.
He would
have gave that offense some juice.
He was fresh.
Not just fresh.
You see,
that he runs good between the tackles. He's not big like Elliott. He's like the thickness. He's not thick like Ezekiel Elliott, but he damn sure can run through the tackles. He's not a type of guy that's going to break to the outside. He does not have breakaway speed. He is more of an in between the tackle or zone type running back. That's why I think he can fit in good with Dallas. That's why I say, let's see what he can do in this year 2. You get what I'm saying? And let's give him a chance. Rico Dowdell, I don't know about Ronald Jones. But as I said before, my guy was Cooks. It costs money. I get it. You weren't going to do it. If they brought back Ezekiel Elliott, I wouldn't sit there and hate on the man. I'd be like, hey, Cowboys, let's go. But I wouldn't feel good about the offense or what he's going to bring because I feel like that ship has sailed now. I'm standing on it, and I'm staying with it.
I'm going to fully close this out, and this is going to fully kill this debate. It's going to be an overwhelming victory.
All right, one.
And this is also to people in the chat that's riding for big right now, because I see a lot of y'all riding for big.
Yeah, you see how Boss be doing?
I see a lot of y'all riding for big.
It reminds me of the Troy Hamlet
all of this down.
Storyline.
Y'all ready? I'm finna shut it all down. Y'all ready?
Go ahead.
Big, who do you want out of Pollard or Jones?
Tony Pollard or Jones?
No, I'm sorry. Zeke or Jones? Who you want? That's the nitty gritty right there. That's the nitty gritty right there.
Because you know what? Ronald Jones has done nothing, but he is younger and he's fresher, and I would like to see him in the system. I want to see.
You got to answer the question. Who would you take?
I want to see Ronald Jones.
Okay. All right, you shocked me with that one. You shocked me with that one.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna say
because I already know what Zeke can do.
All right, I'm gonna say this. I would go with Zeke 1,000 times over Ronald Jones right now. I
don't know about right now.
Because what Zeke did on a hurt leg, 12 touchdowns, over 800 some yards, had 1,000 yards the year before, also on a bad leg, was in an offense that did not feature him, that actually ran him into brick walls more than anybody. They was running Zeke right into the teeth of the Washington defense over and over and over and over. So for everybody that's saying big one, I want everybody that's saying
can't get to the outside.
I want everybody that's saying big one. Y'all tell me who y'all want. Do y'all want Ronald Jones or Zeke? See, because that's what it's coming down to. It's not about Zeke versus Cook and an artificial debate. It's not about that. It's about who gonna make our team better right now. And Zeke right now will make our team better, in my opinion, over Jones. So the Cook versus Zeke debate, that's a hypothetical that's never gonna happen because like Michael Gehlken said, likely Cook will cost way too much. The real question is, do you want Zeke over Jones? So everybody that's lobbying against
Malik
Zeke,
Davis.
Remember what we're dealing with. Everybody that's like big one, remember what we're talking about right now. We're not talking about the actual of Zeke versus Cook. We're talking about the actual of Zeke versus Jones. That's my fault.
What you're going to miss from Ezekiel Elliott? What you're going to miss from Ezekiel Elliott? My fault, Law. What you're going to miss from Ezekiel Elliott is two things. I'll give him his props. He was a leader. I'll never take that away from Ezekiel Elliott. He always worked his butt off. I'll never take that away from Ezekiel Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
He always played through things. I'll never take that away from him, okay? I can't, and I won't, and I will never say anything against that. But you know what? I feel like it's time. Let's see what Malik Davis can do, because as I said before, the offense was 12-5 and good this past season because you had a Tony Pollard breakout, not because of Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, the whole issue with the bringing
Yes or no?
Ezekiel Elliott back, in my mind, and I'm going to answer a question. The answer to your question is yes, but the whole issue is that, in my opinion, outside of Tony Pollard, you don't have a proven, really, really good back. And if you have a non-productive Ronald Jones, then what do you do in terms of being able to power run the football? Because look, Ezekiel Elliott is that guy. Tony Pollard is not really that guy. You run him too much inside, he's going to get hurt. He's not built for that. And so that's the argument about Ezekiel Elliott. It's not that we think that he's going to come in here and rush a 1,500. It's not that. It's just the usability and the situational football situations that you're going to run into as you get into this season. Because Deuce is not going to be a power back. I don't think that Collins is a power back, in my opinion. So where do you fill the void? And that's the conundrum that the Cowboys are in if you have an injury to any of these guys. And so that's why you look at Ezekiel Elliott, because you didn't address it with a younger, more sturdy physical back in the draft, or thus far in free agency. You haven't dealt with that yet. And so that's the reason for the conversation. And that's my opinion.
And that's the Cowboys dropping the ball, just like you said, OC.
Yeah.
You said it yourself.
Yeah.
The Cowboys dropped the ball on that when they could have got a good back. We all had said, this is the draft to get you a back. There's all kind of running backs in this draft. Cowboys, you need to get them, because we just said, and most of us agreed, that Tony Pollard was going to be a rental. We knew from the get they weren't going to sign him to a long-term deal. This is a one-year deal, just like they did Schultz. Tony Pollard is going to probably be gone after next year, because guess what? Everybody's talking about Dalvin Cook being 27. Tony Pollard is 26. He'll be 27 next year. You think they're going to sign him to a deal? No, it's over. This is his last season. So that's what I'm saying about that. I mean, it's just I don't know.
Well, let me break this down. Let me just say this. Let me say this. And this is a counter to even my guy, Boss Cowboy.
All right,
This is a counter to even my guy, Boss Cowboy.
Let's get it.
And here's what it is. It all goes down to the money. Ezekiel Elliott been used to getting $15 million, right? And he was making his APY close to $7 million a year, right? That was his money. Now, Ronald Jones, and I know you saying Ezekiel Elliott versus Ronald Jones.
Right.
Ronald Jones just got a contract of $152,000. Man, we can scrape some change together and pay Ronald Jones. So the thing is, Ronald Jones is, and if he complete, and if he's playing so many games, he get up to $1 million. So what the Cowboys are banking on is the money. Now they're looking at Ronald Jones and they're saying, if Ronald Jones can give us half of the production or even a piece of the production that Zeke gave us last season, then they're going to be on the win side, because they're leaning on Tony Pollard to be that guy. So that's just what it is. Now, either they can die by the gun or live by it, and hopefully, we can figure out a way to win. But what I don't want people to do is count out the rookie Deuce Vaughn. I think that his total production was more than Jahmyr Gibbs, and I know this could be wee-wooing, right? Because I wanted Jahmyr Gibbs, but his total production was also near Bijan Robinson. So it's up there. He may just be 5'5", but I know it. Don't hit the wee-woo on me.
Come on,
Law. Deuce Vaughn is the unknown. He can literally be that catalyst for this team standing at 5'5". That's just a capacity. At what capacity? Just like the two teams that was in the Super Bowl. Hey, none of those guys had big burly backs in the Super Bowl. None of those guys were blocking everybody. They utilized their philosophy and their offensive scheme to get their running backs there. Collectively with Tony Pollard, if Deuce Vaughn can produce in Rojo, I would put this running back core right up there versus the Eagles, right up there versus the doggone Chiefs. My running back crew may just be better.
So I just want to say one last thing. When y'all watched Malik Davis all last year, we was all excited, right? I remember we were watching him and we were like, man, Malik Davis is looking good. Dallas, that was a great pickup by Dallas. I remember us all saying that last year. That was a great pickup. Look how he ran tough yards, had bursts, everything we were liking. So now we're just going to throw it away and put it on the back burner because we want Ezekiel Elliott back when he already showed promise from last year. You just mentioned Deuce Vaughn. They should have got a bigger back, in my opinion. But Deuce Vaughn, I like him. I said use him like they use. I said no, I do. I made a tweet where I said let's use him like the Saints did in 2011. 2011, Darren Sproles was with the Saints, right? He wasn't their main running back, but he was their leading rusher. Okay, he had like almost 700 yards rushing. He had like almost 800 yards receiving. He was one of the top return guys. Use him in that aspect, but he's not going to be a bell cow. But use him in that aspect where he's an element where you got to watch him. Then yes, it makes that running core effective because you got a Deuce Vaughn, a Tony Pollard. If you sprinkle in the Ronald Jones or the Malik Davis, who I really think we need to give him a chance, I feel like that running core could be good if you don't jump on the outside. It's still explosion there, and I feel like that's what Ezekiel Elliott lacks. And I really think that inside the 10-yard line, we can score with Tony Pollard or one of those guys. Yes, we can.
Are we a better running group than the Eagles right now?
No.
Okay. Are we a better running group than the Chiefs right now as a collective?
We could be because Tony Pollard. Yeah, because Tony Pollard's running all those
now
guys.
over Tony Pollard on the Eagles right now. Big game, James.
Nobody.
Objectively,
but they got more depth. Nobody. But they got Bart Scott. He's pretty good. They got they picked up the one dude, Rashard. I know. I'm just saying, Rashard Penny. They just picked up your boy from the Detroit Lions, Swift, and the one kid that was with them. Swift is okay, and then
I forgot about him.
You're right,
but he's not better than Tony. But I get what you're saying.
No. I know. Yeah. I'm saying collectively, we got the best back, but collectively they're better in my opinion.
Yeah, they got the better back.
He mean Boston. He know he's not Bart Scott. Come on, man. Leave him alone.
My bad, Boston Scott. I'm sorry.
On,
I apologize. Boston Scott, my fault. It was a B. It started with a B. Damn it.
I'm gonna jump into these final words.
Shout out to y'all, man.
So getting into the final word, I'm gonna start it off. First of all, shout out to Michael Gehlken. It was very good. He laid out a lot of nuggets. One of the biggest nuggets was what he talked about with Steele. His body language and everything to me confirmed that likely Steele is not gonna be ready. The OC been warning that that's the case, but when I really was listening to Michael Gehlken and reading him, because what did he say? He didn't get hurt in October, November. He got hurt in December. Do y'all remember him saying it? And it was how he saying it. It was like, man, it ain't looking good. You know? So it's one thing that we can all say about Michael Gehlken that we should know by now from watching him over the years. He go tell you the truth. He go speak his mind. He go tell you, you know. And so the fact that he showed that much reservation, I'm almost certain Steele is likely not going to be ready for week 1. And if he is, I feel worse because the Dallas Cowboys showed us all last year that they will rush you out there even when you not ready. No, they won't, boss. No, they won't. Shit, just go look at Michael Gallup. It happened in your face last year. Michael Gallup out there gimping around and all that. You don't think we'll do that to Steele? Come on, man. So I'm just being honest. That was one of the biggest takeaways I got from this interview is the forwardness and the reservations that Michael Gehlken was giving on Steele. And the biggest thing, that's why I asked him what I asked him at the end. And I said, likely he gonna end up on that reserve pup list where you gotta miss 4 games. And I asked him the key question. I say, how does he play left guard if he go try to play left guard in the middle of the season? And he said, I don't see how they work that in there. So that tells me that this left guard stuff with Steele is wee-woo. And I wanted to hear it from Michael Gehlken, and I think I heard it. That's just me. My last final word, because I'm doing 2. You I'm doing 2. You already know. Ooh, I'm doing 2. We making a big mistake on that Zeke stuff, y'all. I'm peeping. We making a big mistake on that Zeke stuff. Sure, Zeke is not what he was.
What do you think his price is, though, before you go give that wonderful soliloquy?
Good question. His price go have to be about $5 million. It gotta be, which is a good deal. That's a real
for
good
what?
deal.
5 year for what?
Yeah, but you got
1 year.
$15 million now tied
1
up
year.
in the backfield.
So?
Boy, that's crazy.
I don't care.
So you cutting RJ, you cutting Rojo, I meant to say, right?
I want them to compete. The first thing, let me tell you how I would want it to play out. I would want Rojo to get the first crack at it in training camp. I would want them to simulate him in short yardage situations, red zone situations, and closeout situations. You can simulate that at practice. You can put them out there against the first team defense, and you can let them boys get after it and grade it. Then go compare that with the film you saw on Zeke, both fresh and hurt, and just ask the question and answer it. Was he better than what we just saw through training camp and through preseason? If Jones looked fresher with those fresh legs, then you don't bring back Zeke. But if Jones is looking, then put your pride aside and go call and pick up the phone and give you that guy and get that guy that can get you 12 touchdowns even on a bad leg. So when
what if Kareem Hunt say, man, I'll play for veterans minimum?
Kareem Hunt can go to hell.
Kareem Hunt, he's a power back. He's a power back.
He's a power back that had no production while fresh.
What? When he was with your boy in Cleveland?
Yep.
I'm gonna go back and watch the Kareem Hunt tape, man.
Yes, he did. Don't do that. He
Kareem
still
Hunt
has
didn't
juice
do
and he's
nothing while
power.
fresh, bro. I already looked this up.
You already looked up his tape? You already looked at his tape?
I didn't look at his tape, but I looked at his production.
Okay.
I'm being all the way honest.
At it.
And his production was Kareem Hunt. Now, if he still got it, I might be wrong. He could still have it, because I'm telling you, I didn't look at his tape.
Okay, because the bet minimum, man, you know how that go. But keep going.
Yeah, but I'm saying I'd rather take Zeke though, because see, when Kareem Hunt came into the league, he came into the league at a 4.6. Zeke losing the step at worst is a 4.6. So you got both of them. That's yeah. So anyway, let me go back to what I was saying on this final word. This is the thing that I feel like we missing, because I was watching the chat and I felt like it was a bunch of people with tiki torches, like. It was a bunch of tiki torches, man.
Oh,
Zeke, man. It was a bunch of tiki torches, man. I swear, I saw it. I was watching the chat like they was almost out there saying, they won't replace us. What was that? It was some tiki torches against Zeke. So I'm going to say this, man. This is the main thing all of us need to keep and watch. Because I do want Ronald to get the first crack. He could be right. Gelkin could be right that his legs are fresh, and that he could be better because his legs are fresh. He also, 2 years in a row, was the 4th string running back. So, Cowboy Nation think he gonna be the number 1 power back when he was the 4th string. All right, cool. But then Zeke is that dude that showed you that even on a bad leg, he can get you 800 some yards. Yes, he played bad and hurt in San Fran, but that's also playing hurt. So I'm thinking, let Hunt get the first crack. Let Jones get the first crack. But man, don't be having no pride if he looking wump. I need everybody that was out there with the tiki torches. If Jones is looking like, quiet. I'm dead serious too. Don't you
And
go
so make sure
down.
you throw make sure you throw Malik Davis in there because I ain't heard you say one thing about him and he had juice.
Oh, I got something to say about Malik Davis.
Hey, before you say about that Malik,
Yeah.
did you remember Gelkin did say that, and I brought this up multiple times too. That Rico Dido, he outperformed Malik Davis in training camp last year.
Yeah,
he just got hurt. So
and I just said Rico Dowdell's good, but he's been injured.
Rico gonna show
That's his only problem.
Yeah.
Wait.
He's explosive. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, he is.
I love how y'all just took my final word. Y'all my boys. For that.
Sorry. That was Law.
No, that was both
Law.
of y'all, man. But it's all good.
Law started it.
I
keep going. Come back, Steve. Go ahead. You keep going with your final word. You can have the extended final word.
I extend it because I promise I ain't say nothing else after this. I'm gonna just sit back.
It's long final word.
I got a lot to say. The South got something to say. The South got something to say. Cause I'm gonna say it. I'm giving my whole soliloquy and I'm gonna shut up. Y'all tripping, bad. All the tiki torches, y'all tripping. Y'all really think in short yardage I'm gonna trust Deuce? Y'all really think in the red zone? Yeah, I'm gonna trust Malik Davis. I'm gonna trust Rico Dowdell. Even I'm gonna trust Pollard. Y'all are tripping, bad. No. In them short yardage situations, we're in trouble because everybody keep assuming that Tony Pollard is going to be what he was last year. Am I the only one remember that he had a late surgery? Am I the only one that remember that?
No, you're not.
Yeah, but he didn't tear anything, boss. He broke it, and that's different.
Yeah, but still, man, they still saying he might not even be ready for. They saying he.
They said he's ahead of schedule, and he even said it.
But they keep saying he ahead of schedule. That's that wee woo, bro. They saying still ahead of schedule.
Yeah, but they're also. But we hear noise about Steele not being ready. We don't hear that noise about Pollard, and
so
you know
it. See, because this the thing. You telling me that you don't want to make sure with some insurance with Zeke. You want to go out there and treat Pollard like, hey. You go be just the same.
No, not at all.
That's what I'm saying. That we need to have some insurance in here for Pollard. That we need somebody to keep the load off of Pollard. Because what I fear is that the tiki torches is gonna want Zeke out so bad that they go give Pollard way too many touches than he actually built to handle, and we go break him too. I swear that's what I fear. And I'm watching, and see, that's what I'm saying. If Jones is looking wump in training camp, don't get quiet. Don't go somewhere and put your head in the sand and be like, I ain't gonna even say nothing. No, say it. Say he look like trash, and we need to go get Zeke.
Spouse, let me say this one thing. With the current day roster that we have, this team right now, are they or will they be better than the 2018-2019 Seattle Seahawks with their running philosophy? They had Chris Carson, Mike Davis, Trey Madden, and J.D. McKissick. Will we be better than those boys? Will we be better than those boys? Chris Carson, Rashard Penny, and Phil Haynes.
I'm gonna keep it real with you. I got the answer for you.
Oh, hell no.
No. Because
what?
And I'm gonna tell you why. And I made this case I'm gonna say it again, Law.
Oh, hell no.
See, cause you name them backs. Every back you name is a power back. Is Zeke is Tony Pollard a power back?
Nope.
Okay.
But I'm taking Tony Pollard over Chris Carson.
I know you taking them, but are you taking that in a Brian Schottenheimer scheme?
If I can get my Hunter Lukey, the fullback out there to be somebody, like a Trey Madden or what have you.
I'm not doing
philosophy.
I'm gonna tell you why I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because Brian Schottenheimer never does it. If Brian Schottenheimer is carrying nothing but power backs in his offense, it's for a reason. It's for a reason. He been carrying nothing but power backs in his offense because his offense is built for power backs. The guys that we have in abundance are not those guys. They are not power backs. So when you ask me, and I'm just keeping it real, who fits Brian Schottenheimer's scheme better? Seattle's power backs or our lightning backs? Seattle's power backs. And that's my final word.
That's a good philosophy. I ain't gonna kick back on that one.
Hey guys, so I had to get on the move, but look, this is my final word, man. I think that the Cowboys need to explore a power back option. Speaking about this conversation, I think that we're in good shape. We need to handle Terence Steele carefully and not rush him back. That would be my opinion. And shout out to Michael Gehlken for joining the show. I think he did a fantastic job. Really appreciate his work. If the Cowboys are responsible and they're honest about the evaluation of players early in camp, we can make adjustments. But if they have pet cats and they lie, we could get in trouble. That's my final word.
Yep. And before you go big, I do want to remind everybody that tomorrow we do have more guests coming. We have special guest, Super Rising Star Aisha Morrison, and DMV Fanatic, another rising star as well. So the final word is going to W up with more. So we're giving you more and more of this, and it's going to likely be a lot more discussion that's going to be different because we go listen to a different insider. So I just want to remind everybody that we're not done, that we coming right back tomorrow, and we have a whole lot more special guests even coming next week, and that's going to soon to be announced.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, for sure. That's dope. Hey, shout out to Michael Gehlken for taking his time out. Had the baby and everything, and he gave us a good hour, gave us some good information. I'm bouncing off what Law and OC said about Terence Steele. First on what OC said is, please let's not rush him like we did Michael Gehlken. Yep. Please, because we're going to need Terence Steele. We don't need a crippled Steele like Michael Gallup was all last year, and it was a hindrance. We need him at full strength because, like we said, he's not the greatest in pass pro, but in that damn run game, he was a monster. And the only way you get good in that run game is that knee is good. So please take your time with him and do it the right way. And also sign him now. Stop playing the game and get this man under contract so we can, move forward. And to Law's point, where it's like, if you don't have the Zeke Elliott or whoever, if you have a good offensive line, it helps your running backs. So that's the biggest key for me is let's get this line together. Mm-hmm. Let's figure out these positions. Let's put these guys where they're going to be great, because that's the key. Because I don't care how great of a running back you are, if that line ain't doing nothing, we all understand that. So that's the biggest key to me. Get this line together, and I think the production will be okay. Please, Ezekiel Elliott fans, please don't hate me. Ezekiel Elliott, if you ever watch this, your mom, anything, don't hate me. I don't hate you. I promise I don't. I made a video all about you, but I just feel like the time is past. And if you got your line together and you got these young backs in Malik Davis, Rico Dowdell, they're not Ezekiel Elliott as far as that power, but Dowdell showed something. Malik Davis showed something. I don't know about Ronald Jones and Tony Pollard. He's one of the more elite backs. And I just feel like we dropped the ball on not drafting the running back. And then, honestly, hey, I still love the Cook thing because, as I said before, let's say if you had Cook, and I know the money, but hypothetically, if you had got a Dalvin Cook, and let's say Tony Pollard, that we're worried about him getting those major carries, or even if he got hurt again, let me tell you something. If a Tony Pollard went down and you had a Cook on your team, the team ain't going to miss a beat, and you feel good about that. And you're like, okay, Pollard went down, but we still got a legit guy. I don't know if Zeke is still that guy any longer. I don't think he is. And, we'll see. Hopefully these running backs step up. Hopefully they step their game up because we're going to need them. And we'll see. That's my final word. And I won that debate against all three of y'all.
Just real quick, I want to say this before long go. I appreciate the debate, regardless, real talk. We need more of this to where we really go through our thoughts and fight it out, because that's how we get better. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I wanted to fight somebody on it. You the best person to fight. You the best because I know you ain't go back down if you don't believe it, but I also know you will back down if you do believe it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, regardless, I really appreciate you.
It was a great debate.
Yeah,
I love
yeah. No, I really appreciate it. And we need to do this more because I really believe what I'm saying, and I know you believe what you're saying. So, regardless of us, talking the noise that we do, real talk, I really appreciated this debate.
No doubt. That's great debate. And shout out to Michael Gehlken for jumping on the show and providing us with the knowledge of his thoughts of out there being able to watch those guys practice and perform. And shout out to him. Be sure to reach out to him, subscribe to his accounts. He's a good find on Twitter. I would say this too, the whole situation with the money, it always fall in line with the money. And if we can turn salary cap off, I would love for us to have Ezekiel Elliott back into the folds. I just think that for right now is $5 to $6 million that his camp is looking for, and the Cowboys are leveraging who they have now on the roster to see what they got in order, to solidify their team. And hopefully the Cowboys can win with that. But if not, then they will have to pull the trigger and give Ezekiel Elliott his demands. Keep in mind, Rocky Arsenal whooped the Cowboys, last time it was during this negotiation standoff. So maybe it could be the same thing happening again. Now with the Dalvin Cook situation, if he do want to play for the Cowboys, I don't foresee him taking a cheaper deal, especially as being a running back, because we know running back shelf lives are really small. So he's looking for a big deal. He's not looking for, hey, I just want to win a Super Bowl. He's looking for some money, and it's going to be north of $6 and $7 million. And I hate to say that, big game, James, but that's just how it goes, man. But if money wasn't a factor, then bring them in for a cup of coffee. Let's fight this thing out. I just think that the Cowboys are going to roll with what we got, and let's not count out Deuce Vaughn. Let's not count out Rojo. Let's see what those guys can do in the silver and blue. And to change up the argument a little bit, what my guy Boss Cowboy said about the scheme of Shotty.
Yeah,
he said in his last interview that they kept 70% of the previous administration's playbook. They kept 70, so they only changing about 30%. So maybe the 30% would maybe more scat back guys or smaller guys to be in the backfield. I don't know. It's an old wait and see situation. So we'll find out which philosophy this Tex Coast offense is going to bring about. It's new, and I can't wait to see it. That's my final word.
Let's get it.
Tex Coast, baby.
All right, y'all make sure y'all come back tomorrow, man. That's going to be fun. I can't
wait.
No, it's going to be fire.
I just want to run it up. Can we check or something?
DMV. Man, hit that light.
DMV.
I've been really in the field. I just want to run it up.
Yoga.
Don't need no deals.
Yoga. Fire. Yoga. Lane.
I just want to run it up. Kind of check a song. Lately, I just want to run it up. Count that too, count it up.
Shout out to Wayne Brown for the super chat, baby. Appreciate it.
Need them ones, I need them fives, need them tens, I need that change to the
shout out to the Lakers, man.
Next year, man. I still saying roll my change. Take some losses when I play.
Shout out to I'm giving a shout out to the Denver Nuggets because the general manager, his name is Calvin Booth. He used to play with the Dallas Mavericks, and I also used to play against him in high school. He was a dog in high school. He went to I can't remember what college he went to, but he played for the Sonics, played for the Mavs. He, I actually dated his sister, and he was an animal back in the day. And he's the general manager of the Denver Nuggets now. So shout out to him from the CO Columbus, Ohio, baby.
Let's get it.
I just wanna run it up.